Well, hello, you beautiful beast, you. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited about today's show. I've got a friend who's joining us that we haven't chatted for a while, and it's just really lovely to spend time with them. I hope that you're going to enjoy spending time with us as well. I had somebody say that they don't know, what do you actually do? So I thought I'd start the show and say, hello, I'm Dave. Some of you might know me from having a bunch of LinkedIn learning courses. I think I've got about 15, maybe more, AI courses on LinkedIn learning. And I'm co-founder of the Gen AI Academy. So we've got a whole bunch of experts around the world, and we work with organizations to help them upskill their teams. So there you go. In case you were wondering, who is this bloke and why am I watching this? And yeah, we've got a LinkedIn user here. It's not telling me who this is, saying, hello from Bristol. Tell us where you're from, where you're joining from. If you've got any questions throughout the show, I want you to get involved, because right up here on the screen, I use a teleprompter here, and right up here on the teleprompter, I can see the chat. So as the chat happens, I will be able to see your questions and we can bring them up on screen. A little bit like that. Hello. So hey there, Bristol person. Hi from Texas. Right. So let's get into it. I am going to play our sarcastic AI introduction for today's guest, Fredrik Haren. And here we go.
All right, everyone, our next guest is Fredrik Haren, a man who looked at one successful career and thought, no, I'd rather spend the rest of my life flying around the world talking about creativity. He's delivered over 2,000 speeches in 75 countries, interviewed everyone from CEOs to sushi masters, and somehow turned curiosity into a full-time job. He calls himself the Creativity Explorer, which sounds suspiciously like a children's TV character with a frequent flyer account. He's shared stages with billionaires, kings and prime ministers, but is also proud to have once spoken to an audience of 3 people. That's less a keynote and more a group chat. So please welcome the man who made a career out of asking interesting questions and somehow ended up with a private island, Fredrik Haren.
Hey, Fredrik, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Great. Well, that was actually quite kind of AI, I have to say.
It was, but the one thing that I did notice that it didn't mention your books, and I've got your books right here. And do you know where I got this book?
I do not.
When we first met was, my goodness, it's nearly 15 years ago in Singapore. And we were both, I was teaching on the Hyper Island Masters course, and you came in as a guest speaker. And you brought a bunch of books for the folk on the course. And this is your book, the idea book here, that I cherish. And I got it down from the bookshelf today. And it is worn because it's been used, because I love the little stories you tell in here.
Thank you.
So anyway, there's you, the idea book. But you've also, just in the last, what was it, about 2 months ago, I think you brought out this book,
Right.
The World of Creativity, which is, which we'd spoken about like 3 or 4 years ago. We were chatting about this before you brought it out, and it is fantastic. So it's a very dip in, dip out kind of book with lots of insights. It's made me, as somebody who writes books on creativity and speaks, it makes me think about things in different ways, because you bring in the interpretation of words in different languages and what that means. And I love this book. I love this book.
Thank
so
you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, could you tell the audience where you are right now? Because it's the most incredible setup. I don't know anyone who's got like a house like yours and your office here at the moment. Explain where you are.
Okay, so I live on a private island outside of Stockholm. It's actually the most central private island in Stockholm. So I'm very close to the center of Stockholm, but and this is a geometric dome on top of my house. So it's 360-degree sea view, and it's like sitting outside, except there's no wind. So this is my creative bubble, so to speak, literally.
Oh, It is beautiful, and having
Thank
seen
you.
your pictures of it, I think it's just a phenomenal place to sit. Do you find it an inspiring environment when you go up there?
It's built from the perspective, like what inspires my creativity the most? Well, first of all, traveling around and meeting people, which is what the book is. That's that one side of me. But then the other side of me is I'm an extreme introvert. So I like to live on an island with no neighbors. And then I like to be close to water. I need to be in nature. I need to be by myself. When I do my thinking, my reflecting. So this is perfect. And my kids know they're not supposed to go up the stairs. So on this bubble, I'm by myself. I'm home, but I'm by myself. So I can think and reflect and write and do things like that.
And it's the first day of the school holidays today, isn't it, for you?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
I built a football, what do you call it? A foot golf course on the island today with my kids in honor of the World Cup.
Phenomenal. That's brilliant. Now, when we both talk about creativity, I think we probably come at it from slightly different perspectives. You know, I'm the nerd who sort of is always showing my my brain and the anatomical stuff, and I kind of like talk about things from the neuroscience point of view, neurochemicals, behavioral psychology, that kind of stuff. And you come at it from very much a sort of social and contextual, I think, kind of approach, where you're sort of looking at the different things that impact people from their organization, their culture, and things like that. So from your perspective, how do you think AI is impacting creativity?
Okay, I'm gonna go out swinging. Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think AI is the most amazing creativity tool that we have developed in the last 5,000 years. That's what I think.
I would agree.
Yeah. And if you let me elaborate on it. So like how do we have ideas? Like if you look at it from a more philosophical point of view, how do people come up with ideas? There are different ways of doing it, right? So the first way is like meditation or a dream, like something comes to you. Harry Potter just came to J.K. Rowling on a train ride, right? So some of the subconscious part of your brain or from God, whatever you want, it just an idea just comes to you, right? The Big Magic with Elizabeth Gilbert, that's the thing. The subconscious brain. Then we have the conscious brain, and you say, what am I going to do for dinner tonight? Oh, I know, I'm going to make pancakes. That's not your subconscious, that's your conscious brain. Or how do we solve this problem? And you sit down and you solve a problem. So you have the subconscious brain, and then you have the conscious brain. Now, the third one is inspiration, like Velcro. He's walking around in the forest and something gets stuck to his legs. He gets curious, he looks at it and says, oh, okay, it's small hooks, and he invents Velcro, right? Or you read something, inspiration from the outside world gives you an idea. Then we have what we did before the show here. You brainstorm with another person. Like I have it, you and I, we share ideas, brainstorming together. Let's go and like share ideas with each other, exchanging ideas between each other. Then 5,000 years, we invented a pen. And suddenly you could now brainstorm with yourself outside your own brain. You have an idea, you write it down, you look at it, and now you're brainstorming with yourself outside of your own brain, right? You can see look at what you wrote and get new ideas. Basically, those are the ways you can be creative. Now with AI, there's a new way. And I like the more advanced version of this, most people haven't tried, but I like to explain it like this. You know how we talk about digital twins?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I am a literal twin. I have an identical twin brother. And you, I don't think you have that. Most people don't have that. So you don't understand what it means to have an identical twin. So if you want to brainstorm with someone, you have to find someone who's either as close to you as possible, but you know, you and I are pretty close, but we're not exactly the same. Like you said, we have different approaches. Now you say something and I kind of understand what you mean, and then I say something back. But when I do this with my twin brother, when we were growing up, I would start the sentence, and then halfway through, he'd finish the sentence for me because we have exactly the same DNA and we have the same upbringing. We are exactly the same. It's like I have his brain. So I can brainstorm with my brother in a totally different way than I would brainstorm with any other human being. And that is now, which is a unique experience. It's like a totally unique experience. Now, what you can do now is that you can upload everything that you have ever written, all the emails, all your documents, and this, and your tone of voice, and all of that, into your AI of choice. Then you go to 11 Labs and you record your own voice, and now you can talk. Now, and I actually did it. I had Claude write a script that tweaked my voice using the algorithm so that it's bone induction, because the voice that you hear inside of your head is not the same as everyone else hears, right? If you ever hear yourself recorded, it sounds slightly different. So I recorded a voice and asked Claude to tweak the sound so it sounds more like I hear my own voice, so I don't hear my
so it's just screaming swear words into the void, like the
no, just like the bone conduction version of my own voice. So you know, I don't want to sound like when I listen to my recording. I want to hear the sound that I hear when I talk. So now I can talk to Claude, and Claude can talk back as me with the same, not the same DNA, but the same background, the same tone of voice, everything. And I can now brainstorm out loud with myself and get feedback back. That's a totally new way of coming up with ideas. It's amazing.
So it's interesting. There's a few things to unpack from that. I think let's talk about the fact that if you're uploading your own information and you've got your context, and this is something I've been working with some of my clients on, is creating these sort of context knowledge sort of repositories for agents, so that it means that the agents are more knowledgeable. But do you think that there could be a risk with that kind of thing, that it can end up not broadening your thinking, but instead narrowing your thinking, because it's bringing the same stuff to it and it's not challenging you enough?
Oh, it definitely it could. And I don't only brainstorm with my twin brother. I'm saying we now have a new way of doing it. But you could also say, this is me, be the opposite of me. Or you can say, I want you to brainstorm back as Elon Musk or Leonardo da Vinci or whoever you want, or just pick different versions of whoever. Be more cynical. So suddenly you can, because before you have to imagine what would, like for example, when I wrote my book, I did not use AI to write my book in any way, except for feedback. So I would upload a chapter and I would say, be a reviewer at the New York Times and review this chapter. Be a CEO of an advertising agency and give feedback on this chapter. Be an HR manager thinking of buying this book for all her employees. What would you like about this book? What would you not like? Right? I could imagine that in my head, but I would also be a bit biased to the fact what I would like that person. So I would tweak. I would probably give nice answers. Now I can ask today, I be more cynical, be more negative, or maybe be more positive, right? So you can have 100 different people give feedback to your ideas, and you can test them. You can tell them what kind of feedback you want, or you can not tell them what you want and be surprised.
So there's one of my clients I was chatting to this time last week, pretty much. And one of the things that he said to me a few months ago, I just thought was fantastic. He was saying that he uses AI to make his life more difficult, whereas, you know, most people are using it for shortcuts. So when I sort of questioned him on that, he's saying, well, I use it to give me perspectives that I hadn't considered. I use it to challenge my thinking and ask what I'd missed. And it becomes a sort of interesting attitude to have in the way that we're using AI, because I think that the vast majority of people, and I'm talking about like 90% of people, use it to avoid thinking, and they're not using it to challenge their thinking and make their brain do more. They're trying to use it to make the brain do less, because they think that that's what a productivity tool is all about. Do you think that there's like an attitude thing that comes to this? And do you think that the people who would naturally be inclined to be more creative are probably going to benefit more from the technology?
Maybe AI is like alcohol, you know? If you drink a little bit too much, you see who you really are. Like if you're grumpy, you get really grumpy. If you're emotional, you get really emotional. So I think, yeah, if you're a lazy bastard, you become more lazy with AI. And if you're a curious person, you get more curious with AI, right?
I like that. It amplifies the real you.
It's a personality amplifier.
But one of the things that's a statistic that I very often give is from a study that's done every year by Gallup. They do the workplace engagement study, and they look at how many people are engaged in the workforce percentage-wise in each country, and how many people are actively disengaged, like screwing up their company deliberately.
Yeah.
And you sort of find that in the UK and across most of Europe, it's very similar figures. 10% of the workforce are engaged, 10%. 90% are disengaged, and about 8% are actively disengaged, as in screwing up their company. So I think that these are kind of like analogous figures for how people use AI. The 10% have got the drive to use it to grow and to be challenged, whereas the 90% are, they're just wanting to do less, sit back, do the bare minimum, take the paycheck. Would you agree with that?
Well, since we're going to, from the perspective of creativity and AI, AI and creativity is my kind of forte. So I'm going to focus on that. I get this a lot where people say, "Oh, but Fredrik, now AI is just creating for you. You're just getting lazy." I think this is kind of like, for example, I have a friend, and she's getting married, and her mother was going to give a talk, but she's extremely anxious about standing in front of an audience, right? And she was afraid to mix up, basically screw up her daughter's marriage by doing a bad speech. So the option was not to write the speech. That was she was thinking of doing. But instead, she had AI write the speech. She put in all the information that she had, and she had AI write a speech for her, and she read it. Now, a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, that's cheating. Like, how can you let AI write the speech for your daughter's wedding? That is just lazy, and you're losing your creativity and all of that." But that's not the thing. The option was not giving a speech. It was not writing a speech herself. It was not giving it at all. So I don't think we should. I'm a huge fan of lazy. I think creativity is about shortcuts. Like, creativity is finding a smarter way of doing something to take shortcuts. And lazy people love to take shortcuts. So I don't think there's any wrong in using AI to take a shortcut if that makes you happy. It's when it comes to creativity. Because I'm not afraid that AI... People say, like, when we got the calculator, people stopped using, they can't do math in their head anymore. People became more stupid, right? Or now we have Google Maps, and now we can't locate ourselves in a city anymore. And now AI is going to do the same to our whole brain. I think from a creativity point of view, it's different, because creativity makes us happy. It's the second most wonderful human feeling after love. Love beats everything, but after love, nothing makes us happier than having a good idea or making an idea come true. So there's zero risk that humanity is going to stop being creative because AI is going to do it, because that will then make us less happy. Like, it makes no sense. We will use AI to create more things that will make us more happy.
That's a very positive spin on it. I wish I could 100% get behind you in that one. There's a comment that we've got here from Martin, right? So he's saying that I like the idea of using AI to support the creative process. The key is acknowledging why you are using AI. Is it to critique, to be reductive, or ask it to break out of your own river of thinking, to be expansive? Do you think that at different points of the creative process, that AI plays a different role, and there's parts that maybe AI should be kept at bay, and there's other parts where AI should be embraced? What would be your take on that?
I think it's very personal, depending on your own creative process. So people have different kinds of... I was interviewing in Mexico recently. I was interviewing, he's doing miniature landscapes. He's basically playing with dolls, but on a professional level, for doing ads for Gucci and stuff. So, and he said, like, I need to make something happen with my hands. To me, he called it the creation process, not the creative process. The creation process is the thinking in his head didn't make him happy. He was getting happy when what was in his head, he had to make it with his fingers and make it come true in the real life. That part made him happy, right? So we need to figure out what is it in the creative process that makes us happy. I get a lot of this where people say, for example, there was a discussion on the radio now a couple of days ago in Sweden about using AI for music, and all these musicians were saying, "Oh, this is terrible. It's like, oh, it's not music anymore," and so on. And I had this analogy. I said, I wonder what painters thought 150 years ago, 120 years ago, whatever, when the camera came, right? And it's like, oh, come on. Now you just press a button and you have a picture. That's not creative, right? It takes me 2 weeks to paint this picture. Now you just press a button. Pressing a button is not creative. Photography is uncreative. I'm painting a picture. But I think now, 100 years later, we can all agree that photography is an extremely creative process, right? And some photographers are just amazing with the way they press that button. But all that is left in photography of making a picture is pressing that damn button in the right way, right?
But that frees you up to do frees you up to focus on other things. When
that makes you if you are in the business of creating pictures, you can now create more pictures or better pictures or more and better pictures, right? So yeah, definitely.
So it's funny because that's an analogy that I use in my talks. I've got a talk that looks at that, and we start. I take people through art history and how we started to get photographic equipment being used actually in the 1400s. When we started to use like mirrors, concave, convex mirrors, and then we started to get onto prisms, and then we started using the camera obscura, camera lucida, and how everything was this race to become increasingly photographic. And then in the early 1800s, we got daguerreotypes, we got the photography process happening. And you're absolutely right. In the 1850s, there's magazines. I actually show some of the quotes from magazines in the talk. And one of them is that photography can never be considered to be art. There's nothing beyond mere mechanism at the center of it. Yeah. And it is exactly
like AI.
Yeah, it's protectioneering, isn't it? From people who have invested decades of hours and hours of their lives into becoming better at something and honing a craft. And suddenly something else can do it for you in an instant. And that skill that you've developed becomes relatively irrelevant if you're to be brutal about it, but it's never irrelevant. Because when you learn your skill, you're also developing your judgment and you're developing your understanding of how to get to good. And your process teaches you as much as any amount of art history lessons that you could have. And this is one of the things when it comes to slop, is that when it came to creating images and creating video, is that it's the people who are the photographers or the artists or the videographers were the ones who initially were shouting about how this is such complete shit. And the reason is that they knew that while they were learning their craft, they developed their judgment and their taste. And the problem is that when you start at zero, having never done that, and the barrier was reduced to something that you can just step over, then you've not developed taste, you've not developed judgment, and that's why so much crap is put out into the world. Do you think that this idea of sort of people creating things without having invested the time, do you think that could potentially be a problem for the future of creativity?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's ban iPhone cameras because it's all this photography slop being produced by people who don't understand beautiful photography.
Yeah, slop's always been a thing.
I'm less concerned about AI slop than I'm concerned about human creative slop. But I don't care if my grandma takes a sloppy picture at a wedding. Yeah, it's not a wedding photographer, but it's a photo from the wedding. Okay, who cares? If it's great, it might turn out to be brilliant. You know, give a camera to your kids at a wedding, and the kids might just beat your professional photographer by going under the table and taking a picture of the feet. You know, who knows? Let people take pictures, regardless. They don't have to be professional photographers to have a camera. And the same, let them produce some AI slop. If it doesn't work, people are not going to like it and it's going to die. Let it die.
Okay, I mean that's I love your strong view on that. That's exactly it.
Let people create if it makes them happy. Creativity is about making you happy. If that makes you happy, creating what a professional think is an ugly AI animated monster, fine. If it makes that person happy creating that, I don't see any harm.
So there's one of the things that I've sort of spotted that you know, we've got something that even in the UK government are talking about the current generation as the lost generation. thanks to COVID, and affecting their schooling. Then they go to university and they come out, and suddenly the job market is upended, and there's 40% less jobs, and the graduate recruitment schemes just aren't hiring the way they used to. So there's a whole generation really that has been let down. And in the past, what's happened when there's been a lost generation is it's led to artistic expression. So, we got rock and roll, we got punk, we got hip hop, all from generations that had been left behind by society. But at the moment, with this current generation, we're not really seeing that. Or do we just need to wait longer? Or is AI filling that hole? Or are this generation spending too much time swiping rather than developing a craft? What would be your take on that?
Oh, that's a big question. I would say I wouldn't blame. It's a little bit like blaming, blaming crime on immigrants or something. Like, we had AI for a couple of years, right? So I don't think we can blame the problems in society on AI yet. We might be able to do it in the future, but it's a bit too early. I think social media scrolling is probably a bigger problem because you're just consuming. You're not, unless you are creating. It's too new of a technology. I started my first companies when in the internet revolution. We are 5 years in. We are around 2000 when it came to the internet revolution. That's where we are on AI now. It's like 5 years in, right? If you look at it. At that, we were still talking about web pages on the internet for many years, and we thought it was supposed to be pages. We were thinking in the metaphor of a book. It took a while until we really YouTube came later. It's like, oh, it could be videos and stuff, right? So I think it's too early to evaluate anything of AI. We should not evaluate it at all at the moment. I don't think we have understood how to use it properly yet. I heard this. I don't know if it's true. I heard this story about a kindergarten in Sweden that put the ChatGPT voice computer in the daycare, so that 5-year-olds who never stop asking questions can now ask questions to ChatGPT. Can you imagine? Because all kids ask questions, right? And then they stop. Why do they stop? Because adults stop answering. We get tired of the questions. Now imagine a generation that grows up asking until the computer never gets tired. It just answers and answers and answers. Imagine that generation growing up and say, I can ask any question as long as I want, but then we need to teach them the second phase of creativity. And the second phase of creativity is to find the answer. We should not teach them to go to AI to find the answer, but we should teach them to first start asking the questions and then use AI to start creating their own answers. We need both of those. But I think it's a great start to get a generation that is brought up asking questions until they're blue in their faces.
Now, the sort of asking questions thing has been, I think, a bit of an issue in the way that we've worked with kids. Over the last few decades, well, I guess even since Victorian times, where the whole sort of point of being at school is to tell them to stop asking questions and just to take the information that they're given.
Yeah.
Do you think that AI will potentially increase curiosity, or do you think that people will just get the answers and go, that's it, okay, move on, next thing? Does it?
Yeah, again, I think it depends on your. I think it depends on your personality, and therefore we need to teach kids curiosity. So my mother is actually a teacher, or she was a teacher. She's retired, so she's seen 100,000 kids in her life. So when I had a kid, I asked her, I know creativity, but I don't know kids. Give me one advice as a parent how to raise a creative child. And she said, when the child asks you a question, never give the answer. It's the best parenting advice I've ever gotten. The kid comes and I say, hey, why is the moon round? All other parents start explaining, the blah, 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 gravity, la, la, la. So no. Just say, what do you think? And then the kid will learn that I'm not supposed to go to others for questions. I'm supposed to figure out the answers myself. Now, as a parent, you just hold back for 30 seconds. You listen to their answer. Now they're thinking about the answer. And then you say, well, here's what science thinks. It works on the small things too. Dad, where's my bag? What do you think? I think it's under my bed. Okay, good. Go get it then.
There you go. I'm going to start using that. See if it makes my life a little bit easier.
Oh, I promise you. I promise you. Also works as a boss. Hey, boss, how should I solve this problem? What do you think?
Now, talking of like in the workplace and how sort of knowledge is passed down, there's something that we've seen that we've been losing in the workplace over the last 15 to 20 years, and that's mentorship. Because that was the way that throughout human history, that information was always passed down. New skills were always passed down, older person to younger person. And one of the things that I've been hearing from some of the people that I work with is that that is not really happening in the workplace now. And it's kind of almost expected in a slightly flippant way, just ask ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of thing starts to break down social bonds and social expectations and the sort of support network that you would have with people. And I'm interested in these like second order effects and third order effects that we get from AI. Is there anything that you've spotted there?
I think that I'm a bit surprised actually to hear that. I think that is that's a sloppy generation. If someone asks, I mean, okay, I have mentored literally hundreds of keynote speakers or people who want to be keynote speakers, and I only give them 1 hour, but I give them a 1 hour for free, and I help them. You know, if someone calls me, I would never say, why don't you just ask ChatGPT, right? I would never say that. I'll give them 1 hour of my time. That's terrible. If the older generation is not offering to mentor, that's more about that generation than the younger generation. I hope that's not true. On the other hand, I do think AI is a wonderful mentor. One of the things I used AI for is I had a fight with my daughter, not with my daughter, with my wife. That was one of the first aha moments I had with AI. We had a fight, but I was abroad. I was traveling, so we had an SMS fight, so everything was written. And then my wife cheated because she put it into ChatGPT and she said, "My husband is wrong. Please explain to him why he's wrong." And of course, ChatGPT did that, and she sent this answer: "Look how wrong you are." And I said, "Wait, that was a brilliant idea, Elaine, but you cheated." So I took the same chat from SMS chat and I put it back into ChatGPT, and I said, "Be a marriage counselor and give us neutral advice for both of us," which is the correct prompt. And oh my God, such a good advice. Oh my, the fight just ended. We both read it and said, "Yeah, sorry, you're right. I shouldn't have said that, and I should blah 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 blah." Yeah? So that's a one, and it was instant marriage mentoring right there and then, and it was brilliant. I mean, brilliant in the sense it's just resolved the fight. Maybe not as good as a marriage counselor, maybe better than a marriage counselor. At least it was there in 2 seconds, and it was free.
Yeah. We've got a comment here. Let's see from. I need to zoom in on my screen slightly to be able to read this from Hiromi. I feel my Gen Alpha son and his peers are so creative. Many are inspired by STEM, which we didn't have a lot of access or awareness to when we were kids. They do incredible projects. Also, my son has speech delay, has improved with his awesome SLP, and Google, and in the future AI, has helped him with research and pronunciation. I'm so impressed with how he uses technology with ASD.
There you go.
Fantastic. So yes, I think it's a lot of it is down to the attitude that we have, and if we've got the right attitude going in, using it to amplify ourselves and help ourselves achieve more, rather than lazily outsource, we're probably going to benefit more.
Teach curiosity to kids. That's the only thing that matters. And then they will learn. You will said I'm a big fan of etymology. The Icelandic word for curious is forvitten. For means before, witten means to know. In Icelandic, they are telling us that curiosity is that which comes before knowledge, right? If you get someone curious enough, they are just gonna sit there and they're gonna Google it and they're gonna ask AI. They're gonna learn and learn and learn and learn. But if they're not curious, they're not gonna do it. So we need to foster curiosity.
There's another Icelandic word that you mention in here that I love, which is kind of their word for idiot, heimskur.
Heimsker, yes.
Yeah, which is a sort of beautiful word. Could you explain Heimsker and how that maybe could apply to AI?
Well, Heimsker is the word that the Viking used for someone who never left home. Heim means home. So Heimsker means someone who never leaves home is a stupid person, because you need to go, you need to leave your village, you need to sail south, and you need to go to Denmark and Turkey and France, and you need to steal as much as you can, but most importantly, steal ideas and then bring it back to your farm. If you didn't do that, you were a Heimsker, you were a stupid person. And I mean that applies to all the learning, right? So how does it apply to AI? Maybe ask AI to give, not, let's say you are into recycling. I spoke at the recycling conference lately. So don't ask AI about recycling. You know recycling. Ask AI, if you were working in Formula One, what can Formula One teach recycling industry? Because you don't know anything about Formula One, right? But AI knows Formula One and recycling and can give you insights from the Formula One that you don't know. So ask AI to be that, if Heimsker means that you need to leave your home, let AI leave your home, as in your industry or your profession. Don't ask it to help you in your profession. You are probably pretty good on that.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant, and that's a phenomenal way to use it. There's another. I think it might have been in the chapter after Heimsker. You talked about the idea of bispective, which is that Belgian? I think it is the sort of the concept of bispective, and that being just such a lovely thing that you're able to get a different perspective that will push your thinking in a different direction, because you understand different sides to the object.
Bispective means that you have a knowledge about at least two sides of the same story. For example, you don't understand parenting until you have your own child. You know the perspective of being a child and having parents, but you don't understand being a parent until you have your child. Or then you suddenly have bispective on the parent-child relationship. Or if you have worked in advertising and in the marketing department, you have a bispective of advertising because you've seen it from both sides. That's the meaning of the word.
So, and I think that when I've been sort of reading through your book and dipping in and out, for each of these things that I read, I will then be thinking, how does that apply to AI? How does that apply to creatives working with AI? And it is so helpful, because this here is giving me different perspectives, challenging my thoughts. And I think that's the whole purpose you wrote this book, was to give people different perspectives on the idea of creativity. It's phenomenal.
Yes, absolutely correct. There's one thing that I was thought we were going to talk. Well, if it's okay with you, there's one thing that I wanted. I knew we were going to talk about creativity in AI, and I once had this analogy which I really like, because someone said to me that AI cannot be creative because it doesn't have a soul or doesn't have a heart and so on, right? I think AI can be extremely creative, because I think creativity is to take two things and combine them. And AI can actually take millions of things and combine them in millions of ways, and also then evaluate which one is the best one, or probably will be the best one. So I think AI in itself can create, even if it's a poetry or a song or whatever. But the analogy I do is with plants. So you can see there are plants in the background, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Are they real or artificial?
They look real to me.
Yeah. So what do you think? When you've been watching me now for 30 minutes, have you been inspired by these wonderful real plants in the background?
No, I've been focusing on your beautiful face, Fredrik.
No, okay. Yeah, right. But when you see it, what I'm pointing is, you see that, and you say, oh, look at that. That's wonderful. That's like pure nature. It's like real trees, right? But if I tell you now, they are not real. They are real. But if I tell you they are artificial plants, suddenly they're not as beautiful anymore, right? Because now they're plastic plants. If you hear a song and you go, wow, that's a really cool song, and someone tells you it's AI, you go, oh no, that's an artificial song. You like it less, right? Only because now you know. It says something about how we perceive creativity, right? So I think we should use artificial plants in a way that either we are just telling people these are artificial plants, or in a way where people will think they are real, and they don't get disappointed if they turn out that when they find out that they're not. Right? It's the same analogy. Artificial plants can be absolutely beautiful and give people peace of mind. In a hospital, for example, they can have artificial plants and will help the patient become more healthy because they think they are seeing real plants, even though they can't have real plants in a hospital or an airport. So that in that case, even I think AI can write beautiful poetry, absolutely beautiful poetry.
So I think that when people are saying that they can't attribute creativity to AI, they don't think AI can be creative. I'm with you. I personally think that that's BS. I think that AI can be creative. It depends how we define creativity. But as I wrote about the sort of first chapter in sort of one of my books, is that people can't even agree on what creativity is, and most people don't have a definition for it. Yeah. And it's the same with consciousness. We're having all these debates about is AI conscious? The experts can't even agree on what consciousness is. So it feels as if we need to define these things properly so that we can then have an informed discussion about it. Because at the moment, it feels as if the ground is moving under our feet. It's not anything that there's no solid foundation for us to start with to have those discussions. What it is it's people with opinions and agendas who are giving very strong opinions about whether this is creative, whether this isn't creative.
It becomes a meaningless discussion at the end. I think if AI makes music that beats human music and everyone stops listening to human music, would that be sad? Yes, it would be sad. I don't think it's ever going to happen because the people who love to make music will continue to make music. Of course they will. That makes them happy. As I said, creativity is what makes humans happy. So we will continue no matter what. And that's wonderful.
I think that is probably a good place to bring our conversation to an end. As always, these things, they just go in a flash. But we've been chatting a while, so I'm going to bring that to an end. I think we might have to have some more chats about this stuff, Fredrik. Before we go, folks, I want to show you a little something that we've created. Next week is the 1-year anniversary of the Gen AI Academy. And I've created a little film. This is a word from our sponsor of the show. Here we go. I'd love to know what you think of this.
It's the game the whole boardroom's playing. It's Monopoly AI.
I'm laying off the entire sales team.
I'm replacing customer service with a chatbot called Brian. Your chatbot promised a customer a refund policy that doesn't exist. Pay damages. Data breach. Go directly to court. Do not collect $200. Half your staff are gone and nobody knows how anything works anymore. My competitor bought the same tools, but train their people first. I hate this game. We've all lost.
Play a better game with AI, one where everyone wins. Talk to the Gen AI Academy.
There you go. There's a little peek at our latest little film.
Hey, you cheated! You didn't do all of that yourself. You didn't hire the actors. Come on, that was not creative at all.
And I used myself as a voice. I replaced the AI voiceover with my own voice.
I loved it.
Now, Fredrik, thank you so much again for joining us. There's so much to think about, and folks, check out Fredrik's books, especially The World of Creativity, his new one here. I am just loving this book, and I'm actually going to be back next week with a new experimental show, which is like a bit of a phone-in. So I will see you next week for that. Fredrik, thank you so much again. And hang around. I'll chat to you when we come back again. All right, folks. Thanks for joining us. Bye.